Hey, what's up, gamers? Of course, I got another deck for you today. This has been one of my favorite decks that I've made in FanZ, without a doubt. I put it right up there with Weelo and Gohan, Future Gohan. Been my favorite deck of the set so far. I've been loving it. It's definitely got. I'm gonna fix that real quick. It's definitely got some spots that can definitely float around a bit. I suppose my picture might be a little big to see the mastery here, so I'll close myself down just a little bit here. As you can see, it's Knowledge Mastery and the Dende stack, and I've just been loving this deck. It's so fun. I like Rejuves pretty well. It's got pretty good anger. It's got really good utility. Not to mention the Mechian itself has quite a bit of utility depending on what ball stack he's, but um, he gets the best of the traded and like restriction based Namekian cards, with the exception of Namekian Malicious Intent. That's like the one he doesn't get. Otherwise, he gets like all the same stuff that Kami does, which is super cool. So he gets things like Halt because he does have God trait, and then he also gets things like Namekian Grab. Uh, both of which are super useful for this deck, and then probably one of the coolest cards is Namekian Duck, especially in a Knowledge deck. Super, super good. So, um, but anyway, we'll get on to the list here and the idea. I immediately looked at his stack and people were very set on playing him Namekian. It seemed like a lot of people were saying Radiant because you could turn one tutor Dragon Ball out, and I think that was something that they kind of were. They were a little overly fixated on Dende's creation, which I'll bring that up right now. People were looking at this as a new win con, and I don't really think it's a win con. It isn't. You should not build a deck based around slowly putting balls out with this card. It's not going to be like red. You could do it, but why wouldn't you just use Supreme Kai, um, or like literally anyone else? You're going to be stuck on his level 1 like all day in most decks. His biggest issue is that none of his levels outright give you anger. So if you want anger, you have to play it, and you have to use auto levelers. The consistency of auto levelers with an MP that doesn't have a built-in auto leveler in either his stack or his named cards, they're really hit and miss. But as somebody that does a lot of rejuveing, he rejuves on his first 3 levels. There's no reason not to play Knowledge in my mind. You just get that backup win condition. This deck is primarily, I'd argue, MPPV. I mean, you could build it definitely different than this, and I might switch around cards in it, depending on what build of Dende. Like a Radiant build I would see as more of like an energy beats, like a survival build. That's usually what Radiant's best at, is doing the survival. They just do all of a sudden like turn these life card combats on you where they're just doing like 7, 8, 9 life cards an attack on you. Radiant would give you the option to get some anger too from the mastery. I just think aligned in Imposing. Imposing could be decent if you're going like Control Ball as a resource. The biggest thing is Dende wants to use Earth Balls. Now, none of his levels are its type of Dragon Ball. They're all about just balls entering play on his first 2 levels, get you stages, much like Krillin, with setups. And then he's just got constant rejuvenation and shuffling abilities for balls. Level 2 gives you crits, so some control for shuffling a ball. Level 1 gives you non-stop setup search. So this is just another reason why I like Knowledge the most, is because between just the amount of anger you can get, level 1 can give you 2 anger, level 2 can give you 2 anger, both levels rejuve and shuffle a ball. Level 3 can draw you a card, give you an anger. Level 4, depending on what ball you play with his active power, can give you an anger. So there's really no reason why I might not to. He's got ball protection on 3 and 4. I think the biggest thing with him in this deck, specifically my build, is that creation is just one of the many options you have. This deck is more about ball as resource than anything. I think I ball vict like once, but otherwise most of the time I'm MPPVing. I have survival victoried. You can definitely do it between all the rejuvenating. The biggest thing is the meta. It seems like on Octagon at least, there's a lot of people playing black. So you're not going to really have a pile. And a lot of the red aggro decks that people play too are pretty good on banishing cards as well. And then you have things like Majin Vegeta when you see those, a banish pile. So pile, it's like, pile is hit and miss. Against black decks, you're going to have probably the most trouble because Dende excels with the pile. He does so much rejuvenating on top of Namekian. So I've talked a lot about his stack. Again, his 3 is like just kind of a generic draw. Kind of depends on how you build the deck. The draw can help you or not. In a deck that can set up the draw, it's cool, I guess, and I kind of can set it up with certain cards in Namekian that I don't run, like Direct Strike, and things like Heroic Assistance can set up your level 3, but that's just like it never happens really. I've done it a couple times, but another reason to maybe run this card out of 2 of, but 4 and 3 both stop your opponent from like capturing Dragon Balls, which is super strong. We get into the breakdown of the cards here though. So Aggressive Drill and Harvesting Drill are my 2 drills that I run, both at 2 ofs. This was originally Hospitality Drill. I ended up changing it to Harvesting. I haven't played a game with it on Harvesting, but between my experience against the black decks and a lot of decks, with you needing pile really bad with Dende, I think Harvesting Drill is a better choice than Hospitality. Hospitality has helped me out at times with the hand filter, but you don't really do a lot of deck searching, at least consistently enough. Again, my biggest issue is I was just finding I didn't have enough of a pile for Hospitality to really matter on the few deck search procs I get. And if you use things like Dende's Creation, you're not ever really searching your deck. You banish all your balls out, so your ball searchers are really your only thing searching your deck for you, other than your level 1. So it just wasn't really worth it to run Hospitality in my mind. I thought about using Manipulating Drill. That's a good one. Again, just right now with so many black players out there, I think Harvesting is just better. Protecting your pile is just very, very important, and yeah, being able to loop this as you go up in levels. It sucks that it's a drill, and it sucks that you lose it, but even if you can just get it on a pass against a lot of these black decks that are running like Rupture Drill, it's huge. And Aggressive Drill is so good. I mean, this card gives you anger on board, and it gives you anti-anger, and then you can kill board cards. You can kill setups with it. It's so good. You can do some interesting comboing with Dende's Creation in this card. Like, let's say you want to... if you use Dende Creation, and then let's say you drop a ball searcher after you've played a creation, you're like, oh shoot, well then you drop Aggressive Drill to put that ball into play when this card enters play during combat. So mid-combat you can go search it out with something, or you can grab it with like a healing aura and put a ball back in so you can then go search it. I haven't made the play, but a good combo would be like you creation your ball, whatever, like ball 3 or something, and then you pop this into play with an aura, and you put it back in your deck so you can search it, and like that way your opponent couldn't cap it or something. I don't know, I'm just giving you different options. There's just a lot of versatility. I usually just use this for the active effect though, more than anything. It's so good. Some board clear and anger. So creation at 2, because some games you don't ever need it, some games you want it. Once you've played 1, you don't really need 2. It has really good comboing to get it out later though, and most people don't really prioritize killing it once you've popped 1, which means if you can get it out again. One really cool combo is you loop these, like you go play a ball, and then you banish it, and then you get up to 4, and then you go level 4 for it in mid-combat, which is super, super gnarly. I've done that quite a few times, where I like started a turn after popping a creation previously in the game to play ball 2 or something, and then I shuffle it away, and then I proceed to just, activate another creation, banish it, then Dende for it. It's just another way to help win you the games at the end. Not to mention if your opponents somehow just start stacking up on your balls, you can take them back softly with this card, but that isn't really applicable to this deck. We have Dragon Clan, just a ball searcher, same with Radar. Radar you get to search in level 1, which is another reason why, like depending on the game state, depending on how the game's going, you might want to grab Creation first to get that engine going, especially if you need to see like a ball 4 or 2 for some board clear or some level management. Or sometimes if you see a ball 3 setup coming in really good for the next turn, depending on what your hand is and how the pile might fall, you might want to grab a creation so you can pop that, and then maybe drop an Earth 3 on the next turn. Or a 5 if the pile state is really important. 5 is definitely the most underrated ball, I think, Earth Ball, because pile hate is very, very good. And not to mention this card can come in and shuffle a ball for you, which is super handy. With Knowledge Mastery, you can just sit on one ball, so you might drop a ball that you really like, and your opponent's going to pass on you, and you're thinking, oh shoot, I maybe don't want to have 2 balls out for whatever reason, and then you just go in and you drop a ball 5 to shuffle that ball into your deck, so then you can search it. So that's been a really cool combo, is being able to drop like a ball 3 or 2, and then just ball 5 it with a creation effect, and then on my turn I have like a Radar or a Clan out, and then I just instantly can just ball 2 somebody on the first action. Definitely has come into clutch against some anger decks I played against. Heroic Assistance, of course, and Heroic Plan. Heroic Plan's a new ad. Again, that and Harvesting Drill just got added this round. I gotta test them out. Heroic Plan might just turn into another Assistance, but I do like the idea. Honestly, Heroic Plan's mainly in here so I can grab the 2 drills. Because if Radar, it's like if I want the ball, I'll go Radar. If I want not the ball, or the Radar's gone, I'll go Assistance. If I want to like loop a time or something, or put some important card back in my deck, get some extra anger. And Creation's there if I want to start ball as resourcing. And again, Plan's there mostly if I see a black deck early. So that way I can get Harvesting right off the bat. Or if there's a certain, against a board deck or something, I can instantly just drop a aggressive drill against like a resourceful or black deck and start killing their board state. It's huge. So again, we'll see how Plan works. It's ultimately just might turn into a second Assistance. Assistance is just really good. I'd love to put it at 2. It's just kind of figuring out what I like and what I don't right now. I'm doing a lot of testing with this deck, so let's get rid of this fucking. Oh, there we go. I'm doing a lot of talking about this deck. I have a lot to say about it. There's so many combos, and he's just so cool. He plays quite differently from all the other MPs. He's kind of similar to Kami, level 1, where he's just constantly shuffling balls away for some sort of effect. But it's a bit different. He's grabbing non-stealth setups versus the drills, so he has a different kind of build. He definitely wants to try to level in knowledge. He's, like I said, more of a ball as a resource than anything. Creation is just super, super good. A lot of utility. We get into our final setup is Growth. I want to run this at 3. Again, it's just kind of spacing and testing stuff out, but this card's incredible. If your anger doesn't get checked, it's super easy to hit level 3 quick, and then when you have these out on the board, with Creation out, being able to just get a ball handy, get its effect, and then being able to have Growth to go grab like a right throw to just instantly guarantee like a level 4 is just huge. Really good combo. Or if you need to get what's nice is this grabs any styled card, so being able to grab things like Rab for board clear, Double Strike for some utility, things like Maxwell, Onslaught for extra anger. If I want to do some chain anger fun, get like on overtime or something. All sorts of different things depending on the board state. Being able to grab a block, of course, is always good. So all these cards are really good. The only card that I mean, sometimes an aggressive drill isn't useful every match, but the ones that you do want to see it, like, it's so good. So it's kind of like, I haven't played against a lot of decks that it's been crazy amazing against it, but like when I see it against like a board deck, they just like, the bummer for them. Same with anger decks. This card is just so good. It's just onboard anger, you know. It would probably be the most cuttable, but again, it's just so good of a card. And Harvesting Drill is just mostly because there's so much black manipulative that I'm playing against that I think I'm going to try this out. If it doesn't really do much for me, I'd probably just cut it, and ultimately, if I was going to bump cards up in this area, it would be like an Assistance and a Growth. Probably be. I've tried Namekian Fusion and Namekian Grit, or whatever the heck it's called, the one with Gohan on it. Determination, the one with Gohan on it that gains you 5 stages. Rejuvenate 1. I just don't ever have a pile, really. I've just learned that like I rejuvenate so much I usually don't have a pile, and then you top it off against like these decks with pile hate. I just don't. Cards that outright rejuvenate just really aren't that great in this deck. So that's what I've learned. I just don't ever have a pile, so I had to cut down a lot of blocks to try to let people start hitting me and make me a pile. So we get into the final board cards, I guess. The 7 Earth Balls, again, all have their own purpose. 7's really good. You gotta know, again, another reason of knowing when to want to use Creation or not is if you maybe want to use like Ball 7 Earth to end the combat once the game. This ball is usually pretty useless though. It's only really good if you see it early in a game before you get Creation going. That's the only time that you really want it. Otherwise, it's a safe ball. If you want to put out a ball, you don't want it to like potentially be like used by your opponent. Like let's say you have 2 balls out, you're not going to be able to shuffle one for some reason. Putting 7 out is always safe. 6 is really fun because it gets you an end of combat anger, kind of like Ascension Mastery kind of effect, where like as long as you have a pile, end of combat, you can place it on your bottom and retrieve one, and it's still in combat, so you get an anger. So that's kind of a cool combo. Again, ball 5 is like super, super amazing in this deck. You just being able to like loop the balls and protect them off of Dende's creation. If you don't have a way to like shuffle more than one ball, being able to come in and just nail some pile, give yourself some bunch of stages, and then on top of it, being able to just like reuse balls and set them up for searching of some sort, super, super good. Ball 3 is your main. If you're gonna go for anger, ball 3 is the big thing. You just gotta know when to use it. Just kind of depends on the matchup. Sometimes you just gotta let yourself take some life cards of damage. Sometimes you gotta like set up your pile properly, have ball 3 in mind. What's really cool is you can always use ball 5 to set up your own pile if you would ever need to, as like a last resort. But ball 4 is really interesting in this deck. In those games, again, so in those games where you maybe aren't going to be able to anger, ball 4 is going to be your friend because you can just start looping this ball and just a mill 2. Just mill 2, play it, shuffle back in, you play it again, mill 2. And it doesn't seem like much, but it adds up pretty quick when you start getting this going like 3-4 times in a game. It's like an extra, energy attack or 2 of unpreventable damage. And plus it's some ally kill, so that's always good. Which Tug is in this deck, but this in Tug means between this like in ball 2 Earth, you have a lot of utility in that sense, and because we don't run Namek 4, because we're not running Namek balls, we lose like that setup and drill kill. Ball 2 Earth has a way to pretty much kill drills against a non like adaptive deck. Even amplified and combative, like they have their ways to get around ball 2, but you can always ball 2 someone up to make them lose drills if they're on 1, which is super good. Or like a Supreme Kai, get them on 2. But again, that's another reason that aggressive drill is really good too, is when you are against like the setup decks, aggressive drill is going to be your answer to them. We also have ball 1 Earth. Okay, this card really is, you're really ever going to get this card if like you're maybe trying to just sling some extra life cards at the end of a combat. This is more of a card that I might grab with like Namekian Surge, just to put out some extra damage. So most of our attacks do life cards damage. I think every one of the attacks other than right throw can do life cards of damage. So again, we're going to be trading, rejuvenating. We get into the events here. So I kind of separated them 2 stacks. I put Time and Halt together. There's a staple. Halt is so good. I don't run Confro or Sphere in this deck. Oh shoot. I don't have Silencing out. There it is. I forgot to put that up. So if anybody's been looking at this and they didn't watch the video, fuck you. You don't get to my full build. But making Silencing at a 1. On top of this, and Halts, like Halt gets shuffled no matter what. So as long as you play it, it's a reusable sphere. And then Silencing is like a super sphere if you lead combat. And it can protect your Dragon Balls if you want to have multiple out. This deck really doesn't really ever have them out that often though. So this is kind of good if like you're playing, if you got to go a game where you're maybe trying to go Dragon Ball Vic or something, or juggle a bunch of balls. It's there for you. We get into overtime. Oh, another thing too is, so between Halt and Aggressive Drill, there's your setup aid. This card is a reusable anti-setup card. Just another reason why we can get away with like no implication or spheres, in my mind. Maybe I would change that in the future again. Could throw Sphere in here. Could throw Confro in here. Thought about it. Many times I've thought about Confro over the Sphere, but I think these two are just better than running Sphere at all. Time's Worst tool again, 1 out of 2 good. You can soft loop this with Heroic Assistance, which is really cool, which is another reason I want to run maybe 2 Assistants, because you can top deck it after you use it, which is pretty gnarly. What's really good is like Dende level 1, 2, and 3. The moment you play Time as a Warriors tool, you can just right after rejuvenate it with their power. So super, super good, super annoying. Overtime at 3, it's a combo card. That's really what it's for. It's just a combo anger card in this deck. The mill is kind of neat. I mean, again, like this and ball 4, they kind of add up when you start getting some balls out and you just mill a couple here and there. It really adds up. But it's just mostly here to just give you an extra anger and combo into another card for potentially 2 anger. So it's a pseudo 2 anger, 3 anger card. But it is a little bit of utility. You can either grab Buffer or any of these energy attacks depending on what you need. So Tug is 2 because allies are annoying. It's also shuffleable, recyclable, anti-anger. So again, like halt, tug, you know, like they just have so much utility on the board. Between anti-setup, anti-ally, and then ball 4, like 3 cards that are all really reusable and loopable is super awesome. And all have double uses. These two both have double uses, so super good. Hybrid Defense and Healing Aura are our last 2 events. Both are Omni blocks, which is pretty cool. Healing Aura gives you stages if you use it for endurance, so that's pretty gnarly. Helps you get off those energies, helps against the physical decks, soak up some more hits. On top of your stage gaining on 1 and 2, should help you out quite a bit, even though you have low AT. Hybrid Defense, looping key cards. And then Healing Aura, what's going to be really nice is ideally being able to level and just get Harvesting Drill back, assuming they don't banish it immediately. But again, for testing's sake, I guess we'll try it. But Healing Aura usually is actually not super useful. It kind of just depends. It's another reason why, like, Heroic Assistance, I really want it too, because a lot of the setups here are banish after use, other than Creation and the drills and Assistance. So maybe another reason to have another Assistance to make this better. But it does let you get a setup or a style drill, so pretty cool. Duck and Buffer, both big anger cards. Duck gets 2 anger and shuffles back in, so really good. And Buffer just rejuves 3 and a bunch of endurance. So as you can see, there's already been a fair amount. There's a pretty decent amount of endurance in this deck, I guess. Not a ton on the dead cards, but Creation has 7, which is pretty sick. And Tug has 2. Healing Aura has 1. Buffer has 3. Duck has 1. But we get into the attacks, and I think every attack has endurance but onslaught here. So the attack line is 3 Headlock. It's a 5 life card physical, pretty cool. Automatically lets you retrieve a stalled card, so free anger. It's got some anti-anger, which is always good. Grab has got anti-anger on if it hits as well, just like Headlock. And it's a life card attack, if you want it to be, and it's a board kill. So this is just another card that kills board, so really good. To add it on to all the other cards I named earlier. There's just a fair amount of utility in this deck, and it's not banish after use with a lot of endurance, so you can definitely loop this if you need to. Right Throw is the big anger card. Again, Creation, once you've popped that means pretty much every one of your turns you're going to have a ball that you can shuffle away with Right Throw. So Right Throw is usually not a very dead card. It's usually one of your better cards in the deck. So use them sparingly and protect them with your life. Surge is really useful. It helps you get off your level 1 power and your level 2 power if you need them. Even your level 3 power potentially. But it's mainly there to just, on top of having 7 Dragon Balls you can get, 2 Ball Searchers you can play. It's another 3 more cards, so it's pretty much like running 12 Dragon Balls in the deck, which means there's more ways to get your level 1 off, to get either your Creation loop going right off the bat, or get a Radar to try to do a big anger. So pretty much I do Radar if I want big anger turn. Here's Assistance if like I want to loop time, or like or if I'm not going to be able to do big anger turn, or if my Radar's gone. And Creation if I want to just get the ball loop going because I need a certain ball. #soon. Or just to have that going to go. So all depends on how I think the speed of the game needs to be. If I don't really have a big anger hand, it's usually going to be Creation. So and Surge helps with that. And it's pretty respectable. 5 costs 1, and you get 2 stages right back away when you get the ball in place. So it pretty much pays for itself. Gives you stage, so on the 1 and 2. Double Strike at 3. Used to have it at 2. I just learned that having the crit is really nice. That's about all I gotta say. It's just a way to just cycle balls, really. Could have get down to a 2, probably. It's just a matter of finding something else I would throw in that spot. 2 Maxwell just added this recently because I was like, why not? Big life card attack, helps me with survival when I can't anger. This card can also create your discard pile, which is another reason to run it, because you can destroy cards off your deck, and it's pretty big anti-anger. So again, decent amount of anti-anger on my attacks here. I mean, this crits to lower anger, this can lower anger, this can lower anger if it hits, this can lower anger if it hits. Hit anger is not reliable, but it's there. Onslaught at 2 because it's an anger card, and sometimes if you have 2 balls, you get the double use on this, so 2 anger card. It's reusable, recyclable, not banish after use, so it makes a good 2 of. Resourceful Shot is honestly probably the worst attack that I've yet to not get rid of in the deck. There's been so few matchups where it's like the crit actually helped, but between this and Double Strike, it just means more utility, I guess, more anti-anger. Against ball decks, Double Strike and Resourceful Shot will win you the game, so they'll help you win against like a Kami Mirror or something, or Dende Mirror, or just any ball deck really. On top of being able to just shuffle the balls away, which is really fun. Like you can shuffle your opponent's ball with level 1. I mean, if you had to, I guess, but and you can ball 5 opponents' Dragon Balls. So like Dragon Ball Victory, people are gonna have a hard time against you with this deck, with this build currently. So anyway, this is the deck. A lot of combos in here. A lot of stuff that just kind of like you gotta play Dende. You're gonna be really impressed and surprised by how fast you can anger. You can definitely do some turns where you can zip pretty hard. Just having the basic like Namekian hands of like Radar and Dragon Clan with ball 3. It's just like playing Namek 5, except arguably better because you get some hand filter and you can set it up like directly. But I think he's a really fun MP. I think he'll catch people by surprise. Definitely his level 3 power is really interesting, that you just straight up stop a capture. So that's fucking nuts, is that you can just have 2 balls, and even if you have 2 balls, that you just straight up stop a capture, then you just go shuffle it away with one of your effects. That's pretty silly. And level 4, just being able to go play balls from the Banish Zone after you creation them. I mean, I've had plenty of games where like I enter a combat and I like fucking clan a ball 3, and then I creation a ball 3, and then I Dende for an anger, and then I level with something, and then I just go and fucking Dende level 4 for a ball 3 and get 2 more anger. Like that's just like just silliness, just complete silliness. And then they shuffle that ball away with a right throw or something, or double strike for more anger. It's just super silly. Really good though. There's so many cool little combos though. He's a really fun MP. I really think people should play him. I think Knowledge has got to be his best. I can't even tell you, like with the amount of synergy and just pass that you have, it's got to be the best. Is my build the best? Who knows? I was running Namekian Palm Shots for quite a while, and I ended up dropping it because I just didn't really like that it was a hit effect. That was really what ultimately made me cut it. And a lot of time that like I got it, I would just not draw anything useful because you draw the bottom of your life deck, and it's like I just wasn't really able to set it up well enough, I think. Maybe that's just me as a player, not being a big Namekian player. Maybe I could have optimized it a bit better, but a lot of time I just wouldn't hit. So just getting cards with more immediate effects ultimately became my choice. Namekian Inheritance and Target Strike are cards that I thought about, but I just don't ever keep the balls out long enough. And the ones that I'd want to copy the most are like 2 and 3. And 3 a lot of time I just don't have a pile for. There's a lot of times I have to wait to do a ball 3 because I don't have a pile. So, yeah. I'm not really sure what else I would add. I mean, again, Double Strike could go down to a 2 maybe. Maybe Resourceful could get cut, but certain matchups it's just too good. I mean, maybe Harvesting just doesn't work out well enough. Maybe Heroic Plan doesn't work out well enough. Those are all cards I could see going. But everything else is pretty solid. Maybe Overtime to 2, but I think Overtime's pretty solid too. Just because of its utility. Because again, if you think about it, again, that whole ball thing, this can turn into I can play this card to turn it into a Surge, which makes my ball 1 alive. I've done that before, so I mean, there's just pretty much no reason why you shouldn't. I shouldn't say there's no reason, but it's very hard, and especially if you get a first turn go, or you at least get 1 turn. It's like it's really hard to not be able to get a level 1 where you get to go search a creation or a Dragon Radar. So we'll test it out. We'll see. Again, could all change. So, but I hope you guys like it. It's been a lot of fun playing it. I really loved it. Again, I'm sure I'll modify it a bit, but this definitely could be one of the decks I take to a regional this year, or not a regional, but a Kai this year. I guess we'll see. I'll be slinging it on Octagon at the very least, and it's gonna be it's definitely one of my favorite decks, fun decks up there with Weelo, Black Weelo. So if you guys want to try it out, he's super fun. I definitely say it takes just a couple games to kind of get in the rhythm of like how he plays, and just to make sure you are watching the wording on his 1 and 2, because level 1 is a ball you control and ball 2 is a ball you own. So your opponent can even take a ball It's just like Kami level 1, where your opponent can have your ball, and then you just get to shuffle it for a crit. So that's pretty silly. But anyway, guys, take it easy, get out there playing, build some new stuff. This game's super awesome. Even if you are trying to think competitively, like make some of these other decks, explore some other MPs to give you some idea, give you a little bit of mental break, give you more things to think about, find some cool combos. It's going to help you out just as a player in general. I think you're going to have a lot of fun, no matter what. So, but anyway, guys, take it easy. Peace.